Nobody expected Buick to do this. Nobody expected them to take a name that belongs to American automotive legend, strip it completely down to its foundation, and rebuild it as a two-door grand tourer that genuinely makes you question whether a car costing this much should even be allowed to look this good. But that is exactly what the 2026 Buick Roadmaster is. And the part that will really surprise you is not the way it looks. It is what is hiding underneath all of that rose gold. Welcome to Premium Automotive Reviews, where we go past the press release and past the surface level numbers to tell you what a car actually means, what it actually feels like, why it actually matters. And right now, the 2026 Buick Roadmaster matters more than most people in this industry are willing to admit. So stay with me, because there is a detail about this car's powertrain and interior technology that changes how you think about what Buick is capable of. And we are getting there. Let us start with what hits you first. The exterior of this Roadmaster is one of the most confident design statements Buick has ever made. That rose gold metallic finish is not a gimmick. It is a deliberate declaration that this car is not chasing anyone else's aesthetic. The long, sweeping fastback roofline flows from the base of the windshield all the way down to a short, sculpted tail in a single uninterrupted arc that makes this two-door look almost sculptural from above. From the side, the profile is clean and taut, with a dramatically low belt line, a wide stance, and large multi-spoke alloy wheels finished in a matching rose gold and gloss black that feel like they were designed to complement the body color rather than simply fit beneath it. The front fascia carries a wide vertical waterfall grille, the widest Buick has ever fitted, flanked by slim, blade-shaped LED headlamps that cut across the corners of the hood with precision. The hood itself rises with muscular power bulges that hint at what is underneath, and a carbon fiber front splitter grounds the nose in a way that says performance without shouting it. At the rear, full-width LED taillamps stretch across the entire trunk lid in a single illuminated band, and below them sits a carbon fiber diffuser flanked by quad exhaust outlets. Every exit, every angle, every surface has been considered. This is a car that looks expensive because it is built by people who understand what expensive actually means. Step inside, and the transformation is just as complete. The cabin wraps you in deep chocolate brown leather, quilted throughout in a diamond pattern, stitched with precision and layered across every surface you can see and touch. The dashboard runs a wide panoramic display that merges the digital instrument cluster and the infotainment screen into one continuous sweep of glass and resolution, branded clearly as the Buick Roadmaster interface the moment you start the car. Carbon fiber trim runs through the center console. The door panels carry embossed Buick medallions, and a rose gold-toned shift selector rises from a beautifully sculpted console that manages to feel both modern and genuinely luxurious at the same time. The technology integrated into this cockpit is where Buick has made its boldest statement. The AI-driven infotainment system learns your preferences, adapts your climate, your audio, and your route suggestions based on how you actually use the car. Wireless connectivity, over-the-air software updates, and a fully digital ecosystem mean this Roadmaster gets smarter the longer you own it. The driver assistance suite includes adaptive cruise control with lane centering, blind spot monitoring, automated emergency braking, and a surround view camera system that makes parking a car of this size feel completely effortless. And because this is a two-door grand tourer, the rear seating is intimate but genuinely usable, trimmed to the same standard as the front, with its own ambient lighting and comfort that make every seat in this car feel like the right one. Now, the part you have been waiting for. The 2026 Buick Roadmaster is powered by a twin-turbocharged V8, producing 650 horsepower, paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission that puts all of that power down through the rear wheels with a composure that belies just how much force is actually involved. Buick has also integrated a mild hybrid system that adds torque fill at low speeds and improves efficiency on longer drives without ever interfering with the character of the engine. The suspension has been tuned on an entirely new architecture, adaptive dampers that read the road surface in real time and adjust in milliseconds, keeping the Roadmaster planted and controlled at speed while remaining genuinely comfortable on a long interstate run. Starting at approximately $85,000, this car positions itself not as a luxury compromise, but as a genuine grand tourer that earns its price through engineering, materials, and intent. And that word, intent, is what defines this car more than any single specification. The 2026 Buick Roadmaster was built by a team that decided, clearly and without apology, that Buick deserved a flagship that made people stop walking and turn around. A car that carries a legendary name and actually lives up to it. A two-door, rear-wheel drive, 650 horsepower Grand Tourer wrapped in rose gold. That is not a car that plays it safe. That is a car that rewrites what people think Buick is allowed to be. If this breakdown gave you something worth knowing, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to see what Buick just did, and subscribe to stay ahead of every reveal that matters. Let's start number 2. Cadillac CT5V Blackwing. Cadillac just crossed a line that most American manufacturers are too cautious to even approach. They took the CT5V Blackwing, already one of the most respected performance sedans on the planet, and they transformed it into something so aggressive, so visually violent, so technically sophisticated, that it no longer feels like a car built to compete. It feels like a car built to end the conversations entirely. And the detail that is going to stop you in your tracks is not the power figure. Although that number alone is enough to make you reconsider everything you thought you knew about what American performance engineering can achieve. Stay with me, because what Cadillac has done to the interior of this car is the thing nobody in this segment saw coming. This is Premium Automotive Reviews, where we do not just read you a spec sheet and call it a breakdown. We tell you what a machine actually represents, what it feels like to stand next to it and understand that something genuinely new has arrived. And the 2026 Cadillac CT5V Blackwing is exactly that kind of arrival. This is a two-door Super Coupe wearing a Cadillac badge, and by the time we get to what is sitting under that sculpted hood, you will understand why enthusiasts who have followed this nameplate for years are treating this reveal like a turning point. Let us start at the front, because nothing about this car lets you ease into it gently. That burnt copper orange finish, and yes, the color is intentional, calculated, and absolutely perfect for this body, wraps a front fascia that has been completely reimagined from the ground up. The grille is wide, low, and aggressive, set behind a deep crosshatch mesh that channels airflow with genuine aerodynamic purpose rather than decorative gesture. Above it, the headlamps have been redesigned into slim, vertical LED signatures that cut upward from the corners of the bumper in sharp angular lines, giving the CT5V Blackwing a face that looks less like a luxury coupe and more like something that was designed by engineers who had a specific lap time in mind from the very first sketch. The hood rises dramatically from that grille, featuring twin functional vents that extract heat from the engine bay while adding a visual aggression that the previous generation simply never had. The body is wide, genuinely wide, with pronounced wheel arches that swell outward over large-diameter multi-spoke alloys wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport performance rubber. You can see the massive brake hardware sitting behind each wheel, painted calipers, visible through the open-spoke design. And the entire rolling stance of this car sits so low to the ground that it communicates its intent without making a single sound. The roofline sweeps back in a long, taut fastback arc that flows from the base of the windshield all the way to a pronounced carbon fiber rear spoiler that sits at the edge of the deck lid with serious downforce purpose. From the side, the body is almost completely free of unnecessary detail. No chrome strips, no decorative vents, just long, clean surfaces interrupted by sharp character lines that catch light and shadow in a way that makes the car appear to change shape depending on where you are standing. Carbon fiber appears at the front splitter, the side sill extensions, and the rear diffuser, and every piece of it is aerodynamically functional. This is not a visual package. This is an engineering philosophy expressed through bodywork. The rear of this car deserves its own moment. Vertical LED tail lamps sit at the outer corners of the tail, deeply inset into the bodywork, and a single horizontal light bar connects them across the deck lid. Below, the carbon fiber diffuser is the most aggressive Cadillac has ever fitted to a production vehicle, flanked by rectangular exhaust outlets that are positioned to exit cleanly and contribute to rear-end aerodynamic balance. Standing behind this car at night, with those tail lamps lit, there is absolutely nothing in the segment that produces this kind of visual authority. Now step inside, and this is where the 2026 CT5V Blackwing does something that no Cadillac has ever done before. The interior is built around a completely new philosophy. One that says a performance car does not have to choose between track-focused and genuinely luxurious. The seats are carbon fiber shelled sport buckets, wrapped in black leather with copper contrast stitching and embossed Cadillac crests, and they hold you with the kind of lateral support that you feel the moment you lower yourself in. The center console is a work of functional art, copper-tinted lacquer over carbon fiber, engraved with CT5 Blackwing badging, and housing a gear selector that sits in a physical gate pattern that communicates what this car is the moment your hand touches it. That is because Cadillac made a decision with this generation that the enthusiast community will be talking about for years. The 2026 CT5V Blackwing is available with a 6-speed manual transmission as standard. In a world where almost every performance car manufacturer is moving exclusively toward automatic or electric powertrains, Cadillac doubled down on the idea that driving should be a physical, tactile, deliberate act. The manual gate is engraved directly into the center console as a permanent reminder of what this car demands from its driver. If you want the 10-speed automatic, that option exists, and it is extraordinary in its own right. But the fact that the manual is the headline choice says everything about what Cadillac built this car to be. The dashboard runs a wide panoramic display that merges the digital instrument cluster and the infotainment screen into a single seamless band of glass that stretches across the full width of the cockpit. The instrument cluster shifts its layout and color palette depending on the selected drive mode. A calm, clean layout in touring, a red-dominated performance readout in track mode, and the infotainment system is powered by an AI-integrated platform that manages navigation, connectivity, audio, and vehicle performance data through a fast, responsive interface that updates over the air. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are present, but the native Cadillac system is genuinely good enough that many owners will never feel the need to switch. Ambient lighting threads through the door panels and dashboard in copper tones that mirror the exterior finish, and the entire cabin, from the carbon fiber steering wheel with its flat bottom and copper accents, to the aluminum sport pedals, to the micro-suede headliner, feels like it was assembled by people who understood that the person sitting in this car has very specific expectations. The performance at the heart of this generation is built around a supercharged 6.2-liter V8 producing 668 horsepower and 659 pound-feet of torque. That is the same displacement that made the previous CT5V Blackwing a legend. But Cadillac has retuned the supercharger, the intake, and the engine management system for this generation, extracting more peak output and significantly improving power delivery across the mid-range, which is where you spend most of your time on a real road. The result is an engine that pulls from low revs with relentless, linear force, builds to a supercharged howl at the top of the rev range, and never once feels harsh or unrefined in daily use. Magnetic Ride Control 4.0 manages the suspension in real time, reading road inputs and adjusting damping rates in milliseconds. And the result is a car that rides with genuine composure on the highway and transforms into something planted and precise the moment you ask it to work harder. The performance envelope of this car is genuinely supercar adjacent. 0 to 60 comes in under 3.5 seconds, and the top speed capability places it in company that would have been unthinkable for a Cadillac sedan just a decade ago. But raw numbers only tell part of the story. What makes the CT5V Blackwing special is not that it is fast in a straight line. It is that it is fast in a way that communicates everything back to the driver in real time. The steering is direct and weighted correctly. The brakes, backed by massive Brembo hardware with 6-piston front calipers, build pressure progressively and inspire total confidence. And the rear-wheel drive chassis, developed specifically around the manual transmission experience, rewards precise inputs with a balance and agility that makes driving this car at speed feel genuinely skillful rather than just electronically managed. The safety architecture surrounding all of that performance is equally advanced. Automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, rear cross-traffic alert, and a surround view camera system are all standard. The performance data recorder, a Cadillac innovation that captures onboard video synchronized with vehicle telemetry, returns for this generation as a feature that lets drivers review their technique at the track and improve with every session. This is not a car that simply gets out of your way. It is a car that actively helps you become a better driver. Starting at approximately $95,000, the 2026 Cadillac CT5V Blackwing positions itself not as a luxury car that happens to be fast, but as a genuine performance machine that happens to be built with the material quality and refinement of a luxury brand. That positioning matters because it is the thing that separates this car from everything else in its price range. You can spend this money on a German sports sedan with more technology and more brand prestige. You can spend it on a Japanese Grand Tourer with more exotic character. But neither of those cars will give you a 668 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, manual transmission two-door with a carbon fiber interior, magnetic adaptive suspension, and a Brembo brake package, all wearing a crest that is finally, genuinely, competing at the highest level of the segment on every measurable dimension. The 2026 Cadillac CT5V Blackwing is for the driver who refuses to be passengers in their own life. It is for the person who believes that a car should demand something from you, reward you when you give it what it asks, and remind you every single time you start the engine that driving, real driving, is one of the last truly physical things left in a world that is rapidly becoming passive. This is not transportation. This is not a status symbol. This is a purpose-built performance instrument that happens to carry enough refinement to use every day and enough drama to make every day feel like something worth remembering. Cadillac has been chasing this moment for 20 years. The 2026 CT5V Blackwing is the moment they arrived. If this breakdown gave you something real, drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to know which transmission you would choose. Like the video, share it with someone who still believes American performance engineering has something left to say. And subscribe to Premium Automotive Reviews so you never miss a reveal like this one. Now let's start number 3. Chrysler Imperial GT. Now let's start number 3. Chrysler Imperial GT. What if I told you that one American automaker just quietly built something that makes European luxury look nervous? Not a concept, not a teaser render, an actual car sitting in a showroom, wearing a badge that hasn't meant this much in decades. The 2026 Chrysler Imperial GT is here, and once you see what they've packed into this thing, you're going to question everything you thought you knew about American Grand Tourers. Welcome back to Premium Automotive Reviews, the channel where we go deeper than the brochure, past the marketing language, straight into what a car actually means, what it feels like, and whether it genuinely deserves your attention. If you're new here, this is exactly the kind of content we live for. And trust me, by the time we get to what's happening inside this cabin and under that hood, you'll understand why this car is being talked about in rooms where they usually only whisper European names. So let's start where your eyes go first. That exterior. Chrysler didn't just refresh a design here, they rewrote their own language entirely. The Imperial GT wears a burnt copper metallic finish that changes personality depending on the light, shifting from rich amber in daylight to something almost molten under city lights. The body is long, wide, and deliberately aggressive in a way that doesn't scream for attention but absolutely commands it. The front end carries a tall vertical grille, chrome-trimmed and bold, sitting below the iconic winged badge like a throne. It's a design that nods to the golden era of American luxury while pointing aggressively at the future. The headlights are slim, sharp, and loaded with layered LED architecture that gives the car an almost predatory stare at night. Those multi-spoke wheels, dark with chrome detailing, sit flush against wide arches and visually anchor the entire stance. Around the back, the rear diffuser, quad exhaust tips, and sweeping taillights complete a silhouette that looks purposeful from every angle. This isn't a car designed by committee. Someone with real vision signed off on this. Now here's where things get genuinely interesting, and I want you to pay close attention because this detail alone separates the Imperial GT from almost everything in its class. Step inside, and you don't just enter a car. You enter a crafted space. The entire dashboard is wrapped in a rich saddle tan leather with diamond quilting so precise it looks hand-stitched by someone who takes it personally. Rose gold metallic trim runs across the dashboard in a continuous flowing line, catching light the way jewelry does. The seats carry embroidered Imperial crests. The floors are carpeted with custom pile matting, and every surface you touch responds with the kind of softness that makes you slow down and appreciate it. The infotainment screen sits center, large and portrait-oriented, running a completely reimagined interface that Chrysler calls their Imperial OS. It isn't just a touchscreen. It learns your habits, adapts your climate automatically, adjusts ambient lighting based on time of day, and integrates seamlessly with both Apple and Android ecosystems. There's a secondary display to the right for passenger controls, and the digital instrument cluster gives the driver a fully configurable view that feels closer to a jet cockpit than a traditional dashboard. Over-the-air updates mean this system evolves after purchase, which means the car you buy today will actually be smarter 6 months from now. The driver assistance suite is equally forward-thinking. Adaptive cruise with lane centering, automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring with haptic steering feedback, and a surround camera system so detailed that parallel parking becomes almost meditative. There are autonomous highway driving capabilities baked in, not as an afterthought, but as a core part of the experience. Under the hood, Chrysler has engineered this GT around a twin-turbocharged V8 powertrain producing in the range of 700 horsepower, paired with a quick-shifting automatic transmission sending power to all 4 wheels. The suspension has been tuned to do 2 things simultaneously that most cars can't manage: comfort and control. Over broken city roads, it floats. On a sweeping highway on-ramp, it tightens up and communicates with the driver in a way that builds confidence fast. Chrysler has also confirmed that a plug-in hybrid variant is in development, which means the Imperial GT's story is really just beginning. The performance numbers are going to make people uncomfortable in the best possible way. What this car ultimately represents is a statement. The Imperial GT is for someone who refuses to choose between power and elegance, between American identity and world-class refinement. It's for the driver who wants a grand tourer that turns heads in Manhattan and devours highways in silence. In a segment dominated by German and British names for decades, a Detroit-born machine showing up with this level of ambition is not something to overlook. The starting price is expected to sit around $120,000, with fully loaded configurations likely approaching $160,000 or beyond. Given everything this car delivers, that positioning makes sense. It isn't trying to be affordable. It's trying to be unforgettable. And honestly, mission accomplished. If the 2026 Chrysler Imperial GT caught you off guard today, drop a comment below. We read every single one. Hit that like button if American luxury just earned a little more respect in your eyes. And subscribe to Premium Automotive Reviews, because this is only the beginning of what's coming to this channel. The automotive world is shifting. We'll make sure you're always ahead of it. Now let's start number 4. Cadillac Eldorado. Cadillac just did something nobody saw coming. They reached back into history, pulled out one of the most legendary names in American automotive culture, and rebuilt it from the ground up as something that honestly has no business being this good. The 2026 Cadillac Eldorado is real. It is here, and by the time you see what's hiding inside that cabin and understand what's sitting under that hood, you're going to realize this isn't just a car revival. This is a declaration of war on the entire luxury performance segment. You're watching Premium Automotive Reviews, the channel that has always believed great cars deserve more than surface-level treatment. We dig into the engineering decisions, the design philosophy, the real-world experience, and the details that other channels simply scroll past. If you've been following us for a while, you already know we don't hype things that don't deserve it. And what you're about to see absolutely deserves every second of your attention. There's a detail about this car's performance figure that we're going to get to, and when we do, it's going to reframe everything you thought Cadillac was capable of. So, let's start where every great story starts. The outside, because the moment you lay eyes on the 2026 Eldorado in person, something shifts. The car wears a steel blue metallic finish that carries a cool, composed authority. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for a second look. It simply stands there, completely still, and somehow the room organizes itself around it. The proportions are long, low, and wide in a way that feels mathematically deliberate. Every surface has been shaped with purpose, and you can feel that even in a photograph. The front end is where Cadillac's art and science design language reaches a new level of maturity. The grille sits wide and aggressive, framed by vertical LED signature lighting that cuts through the fascia like precision incisions. Those aren't just headlights. They're architectural statements. Carbon fiber elements run through the front splitter, the hood vents, and the side skirts. And what's remarkable is how naturally they're integrated. Nothing here feels bolted on or aftermarket. The carbon reads as structural, as essential to the car's identity as the badge itself. From the side, the Eldorado's roofline sweeps in a long, unbroken arc from the A-pillar all the way to the tail, giving the car a fastback silhouette that is genuinely rare in this segment. The greenhouse is narrow and purposeful. The haunches over the rear wheels are wide enough to be dramatic without tipping into aggression. And the wheels' massive multi-spoke units with exposed carbon weave and blue brake calipers peeking through manage to look both track-ready and elegantly restrained at the same time. The rear of the car is where the character really comes together. Square exhaust exits sit inside a deep carbon diffuser, and the horizontal taillights span the full width of the tail in a crisp, glowing line that at night is simply unforgettable. Now, here's where the experience shifts entirely. Open the door, sit down, and the outside world simply stops existing. The interior of the 2026 Eldorado is one of the most coherent, most deliberately designed cockpits that Cadillac has ever produced. The seats are sculpted in dark navy leather with geometric stitching that references the car's angular exterior language. The carpeting is a deep electric blue, and ambient lighting traces the door panels and dashboard perimeter in a cool, steady glow that changes character depending on the drive mode selected. It's the kind of cabin that makes you want to drive somewhere just to sit in it. The dashboard is clean in a way that feels genuinely modern rather than stripped down. A large curved infotainment display sits at the center, angled toward the driver, running Cadillac's next-generation interface that genuinely responds the way you'd want it to. No lag, no buried menus, no frustrating learning curve. The system integrates wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, onboard AI that learns your preferences across climate, media, and navigation, and over-the-air update capability that ensures the software evolves alongside your ownership. The digital instrument cluster is fully configurable, and in track mode, it shifts its layout entirely to prioritize the data that actually matters when you're pushing the car. The center console houses a carbon fiber transmission tunnel with a precision-machined gear selector and two large rotary controls that handle audio and driving modes with a tactile, satisfying click that reminds you, in the best possible way, that this car was built by people who genuinely care about the details. There is an Eldorado nameplate engraved into the console, and it sits there not as a marketing gesture, but as a quiet confirmation that you're somewhere special. The driver assistance suite is thorough without being intrusive. Adaptive cruise with full stop-and-go capability, lane centering, automatic emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. A surround view camera system detailed enough to make tight parking feel effortless, and blind spot monitoring with haptic steering feedback that nudges rather than alarms. The semi-autonomous highway driving capability is smooth and confident, the kind of system that makes long motorway runs genuinely restful rather than merely tolerable. And now, the part that puts everything else in context: the performance. Cadillac has confirmed that the 2026 Eldorado is powered by a twin-turbocharged V8 producing over 1,000 horsepower. Let that settle. 1,000 horsepower in a Cadillac, in a car that also rides with the composure and refinement of a proper grand tourer. The all-wheel drive system distributes that power with intelligence, not just brute force, and the adaptive suspension reads the road surface continuously, adjusting in milliseconds to keep the body controlled and the occupants comfortable regardless of what's happening beneath the wheels. In comfort mode, the Eldorado genuinely floats. In sport, it communicates. In track, it transforms into something that most dedicated performance cars would find difficult to embarrass. Cadillac has also confirmed that a performance hybrid variant is in active development, which means this platform has a long future ahead of it. The electric torque fill from that powertrain will make an already rapid car feel even more instantaneous off the line. And the efficiency gains will make the Eldorado a more convincing everyday proposition for buyers who travel long distances regularly. And that's the other side of this story. The Eldorado isn't a weekend toy hidden away under a cover. The panoramic glass roof floods the cabin with light. The rear seat space, while best suited for two, is genuinely usable for adults on long journeys. The cargo area is practical without apology. This is a car that works on a Tuesday morning commute and then completely redefines Saturday afternoon. That versatility, that ability to be both genuinely luxurious and genuinely fast without compromising either, is exactly what makes the Eldorado something more than just a performance coupe with an American badge. Pricing is expected to begin around $140,000 for the base specification, with fully configured examples likely climbing toward $180,000 or beyond, depending on options. For a car with this level of performance, this quality of construction, and this depth of technology, that positioning places it squarely in the conversation with the most serious machines in the world. And Cadillac knows it. The 2026 Eldorado isn't a nostalgia play. It isn't a tribute act. It is a fully realized, forward-looking machine that happens to carry one of the greatest names in American automotive history. It's the kind of car that makes you understand why that name survived for generations in the first place, and why it deserves to define the next chapter. Drop a comment below and tell us, does the Eldorado change your view of what Cadillac can really do? If this breakdown opened your eyes even a little, give it a like, share it with someone who loves cars, and subscribe to Premium Automotive Reviews because the best stories we have are still ahead. Let's start number 5. Cadillac V16. There are moments in automotive history when a manufacturer stops competing and starts defining. This is one of those moments. The 2026 Cadillac V16 has just been unveiled, and I need you to understand something before we go any further. This car carries an engine configuration that virtually no production vehicle on Earth dares to attempt anymore, wrapped inside a body so visually arresting that it genuinely stopped people mid-sentence when it rolled into the room. And there is a detail about what's happening in the rear cabin of this car that will make every ultra-luxury sedan in the world feel suddenly inadequate. Stay with us. Welcome to Premium Automotive Reviews, the channel built for people who believe that truly great cars deserve more than a spec list and a 30-second walk-around. We go deeper. We find the details that actually matter, the decisions that separate engineering ambition from genuine greatness, and we deliver it in a way that makes you walk away genuinely understanding something you didn't before. Today, that something is the Cadillac V16, and it is unlike anything this brand, or frankly this industry, has produced in a very long time. Let's begin with the exterior, because standing in front of this car for the first time is a genuinely disorienting experience. Not because it's aggressive, not because it's loud, but because it's so deeply, unapologetically regal that your brain takes a moment to process it. The car is finished in a deep royal purple that sits somewhere between midnight and amethyst, a color so rich and so reflective it almost looks liquid under light. And running across that purple in precise continuous lines is 24-karat gold trim. It traces the roofline, follows the character lines down the flanks, frames the windows, and wraps around the front and rear in a way that feels less like automotive decoration and more like jewelry applied to something that was already beautiful. The grille is enormous, tall and wide, finished in gold with thick vertical bars that communicate authority without asking for it. The Cadillac crest sits centered, and above the grille, mounted on the hood, is a sculptural figurehead that rises from the bodywork, like something from the pre-war era of coach-built automobiles. The headlights are slim vertical LED signatures that glow white and clean, cutting through the opulence of everything around them with surgical precision. Looking at this car from the front, you're not thinking about horsepower figures or quarter-mile times. You're thinking about arrival, about presence, about what it communicates to a room before a single door opens. From the side, the roofline sweeps in one long, unbroken arc from the A-pillar all the way to the tail, and the wheelbase is long enough to tell you immediately that the rear seat is not an afterthought here. The wheels are extraordinary, Multi-spoke turbine designs in gold, densely packed, spinning the kind of visual complexity that makes you want to crouch down and look at them from 3 different angles. Gold accents ring the wheel arches, the side skirts, and the lower body, tying the whole exterior composition together with a consistency that speaks to serious design intent. The rear of the car is clean and wide, with layered LED taillights, a V16 badge finished in gold, and quad exhaust outlets framed in matching gold trim sitting inside a structured diffuser. From every angle, this car reads as a singular, complete work. Now step inside, and the transformation is so complete that you almost forget there's a car around you at all. The front cabin is trimmed in a 2-tone combination of deep aubergine leather and cream, with gold stitching running across every quilted surface. The steering wheel is wrapped in purple leather with gold inlays. The instrument cluster is analog in its aesthetic, but deeply modern in its execution, using warm-toned dials framed in polished wood that feels genuinely warm to the touch. The infotainment screen is integrated cleanly into the center of the dashboard, running a bespoke Cadillac interface that supports wireless connectivity, AI-assisted navigation, over-the-air updates, and a full suite of personalization settings that remember everything from your preferred cabin temperature to your seat position. A gold gear selector rises from the center console like a piece of functional sculpture, and a V16 nameplate is etched into the wood trim just ahead of it. But here is where the V16 separates itself from virtually everything else at any price point. Move to the rear cabin, and you are no longer in a car. You are in a private suite. The rear seats are enormous, upholstered in quilted cream and purple leather, with gold-stitched crests embroidered into the headrests and the lower cushions. Individual rear passengers get their own entertainment screens mounted into the seatbacks ahead of them. Between the rear seats, a folding console table extends to reveal a crystal decanter set, a rear infotainment control tablet, and individual climate and audio controls. The rear seatback screens are large enough and positioned well enough that a transatlantic flight would feel appropriate in here. The roof is lined in cream headliner that catches the glow of ambient lighting, and the overall atmosphere is so genuinely calm and enveloping that the noise of the outside world simply doesn't feel relevant anymore. The technology running through this car is exactly what you'd expect from something wearing this badge at this level. The driver assistance suite covers the full spectrum, from adaptive cruise with lane centering and automatic emergency braking to a surround view camera system with such resolution and coverage that even the tightest city environments feel manageable. Semi-autonomous highway driving is available as a standard feature, and the system's transitions in and out of driver-assisted mode are smooth enough that passengers in the rear may not even notice the shift. Over-the-air software updates mean the intelligence of this car continues to develop post-purchase, which matters in a vehicle this expensive and this long-lived. And then the engine. The 2026 Cadillac V16 carries a naturally aspirated 16-cylinder powertrain, producing in the region of 1,200 horsepower, 16 cylinders. Not turbocharged, not hybridized to reach that number, though a performance hybrid variant is reportedly under development. The engine achieves that output through displacement, through the engineering discipline required to make 16 cylinders work in harmony, and through a commitment to a kind of mechanical theater that modern turbocharged engines simply cannot replicate. The sound at idle is a deep, velvet rumble. At full acceleration, it becomes something architectural, something that physically changes the space you're in. The all-wheel drive system manages the output with intelligence. The air suspension reads the road continuously. And the result is a car that rides with the smoothness of an ocean liner and accelerates like something that has absolutely no business being this large or this comfortable. Pricing for the 2026 Cadillac V16 is expected to begin at approximately $350,000, with fully bespoke configured examples likely reaching well beyond $500,000. This is not a mass-market vehicle. It is not trying to be. It is a statement from Cadillac that American ultra-luxury is not only alive but willing to do things that the most established names in the world have quietly stopped attempting. The V16 is for someone who has owned every notable luxury automobile and found most of them satisfying but none of them genuinely surprising. It is for someone who understands that 16 cylinders in 2026 is not nostalgia. It is a position. It is Cadillac saying, with complete confidence, that the future of luxury has room for something this extraordinary. Tell us in the comments what you think this car means for the direction of American automotive ambition. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of what the V16 really is, a like goes a long way. And subscribing to Premium Automotive Reviews means you'll never miss what comes next. And trust us, what comes next is worth staying for.